Welcome to the Susan LoPresti Wellness Mind, Body, and Soul podcast, the go-to space for midlife and mature women who are ready to reclaim their health, boost their energy, and live long, vibrant, and purposeful lives. Each week, we dive deep into natural wellness, holistic healing, anti-aging strategies, and healthy lifestyle habits to help you feel your best physically, emotionally, and spiritually. Whether you're navigating menopause, working through chronic conditions, or simply wanting to age gracefully and intentionally, this show is your sanctuary for science-backed insights, powerful stories, and soul-nourishing inspiration. If you're a woman 40, 50, or older looking to thrive in this next chapter of life, you're in the right place. And today's guest is Terry Tateossian. Terry is a fitness and lifestyle coach, a personal trainer, a nutritionist, a hormone specialist, emotional eating coach, and the host of a podcast, How Good Can It Get? Terry is a successful entrepreneur. She's the mother of two teenagers and a leading advocate for healthy living. She is passionate about sharing her story of losing over 80 pounds in her mid-40s and helping empower others to make positive changes in their lives, no matter the age. At 42, Terry embarked on a profoundly life-altering journey, successfully shedding over 80 pounds in her mid-40s, overcoming emotional eating, and discovering an untapped source of incredible physical and emotional strength. However, her journey was much more than a physical one. It was an experience that challenged and transformed her at every level, reinforcing her belief in the potential for renewal, growth, and change, regardless of life's stage or the roles one is juggling. Terry's journey is particularly relevant for women in perimenopausal and postmenopausal phases, a time when the body undergoes significant changes that can often feel insurmountable. Her success story is a testament to the fact that with the right mindset, tools, and support, it is possible to reclaim one's health and vitality during and after these transitional years. Furthermore, as a busy entrepreneur and mother of two, Terry deeply understands the challenges of managing a business, family life, and personal health. Her story speaks directly to women who are trying to balance it all, providing practical insights and strategies to prioritize their well-being amidst the chaos of daily life. Can anyone relate to that? What makes Terry's narrative incredibly relatable and inspiring is not just her remarkable weight loss, but her holistic approach to wellness, which encompasses mental, emotional, and physical health. She emphasizes the importance of self-care, resilience, and the pursuit of health as a continuous journey rather than a destination. And without further ado, Terry, welcome to my podcast. I'm so excited to have you here today and listen to your inspiring story. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Susan, for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
You're very welcome. The first question that I have for you is, what was that defining moment in your life when you said to yourself, enough is enough. I need to make a change in my life, in my health, and in every aspect of your life?
My second hospitalization after thinking I was having a heart attack and being told once again that here's a Xanax, go home, lose some weight. And that's when it all kind of sunk in that this problem was not going away and that it was starting to snowball into all kinds of other issues. So prediabetes, insulin resistance, thyroid issues, eyesight issues, lots of cavities, kind of feeling very inflamed, bloated, stressed, overwhelmed, alcohol abuse. All these things were coming to a head.
What was your age at that point?
37.
So still very young. Yeah.
And perimenopause had entered.
At 37.
That's right. I didn't know it. And so I thought at the time I was going crazy, really. I thought I was losing my mind. All kinds of crazy things were happening. I didn't understand why I couldn't lose weight. Where in the past, it was a lot easier. I'd do a little bit of cardio and eat a couple of salads and I'd lose weight. I couldn't do that anymore. And a lot of just very odd things were going on. My anxiety skyrocketed. I was having all kinds of strange heart palpitations and just a mess. I was a train wreck.
It's a shame that you were so young when you experienced that. I was in my mid-40s when I started having all of that. So that was the moment when you came out of the hospital, you said, "That's it. I need to make a change." What was the first thing that you started to do to change your life around?
Well, the first thing is so I'm a type A overachiever. Okay. I went on a crusade of all the diets out there. And so this was over 12 years ago. Now I know better, right? So now I know that there are over 30,000 diet books on Amazon. Did you guys know that?
No, I didn't know 30,000. That's a lot.
Over
Wow.
30,000 diet books, and they all have their own different diet and method and meal plan and different ways essentially of achieving the same thing, which is putting you into a caloric restriction.
Yeah.
However, a lot of them, what they also do is they don't just put you in a caloric deficient, they also put you in a nutritional deficiency, right? So the interesting part about all the diets that I did try is that I could white knuckle it. I was, very ambitious. I'm a go-getter. You give me a task, I'll get it done. But it would never work, right? So I failed over and over and over again, and that did not feel good to me.
Yeah. Yeah. That gets you discouraged right away.
Exactly. And so I kept trying. I just that was my saving grace really, is that I didn't just give up. I kept trying, but every time I tried, I would find yet another way to fail. And so at some point, I realized, like, wow, there's something really wrong with me. There's something really wrong. Like, this is not working. I don't understand. How is everybody else doing this? How come it works for everybody else? And so I realized that whatever was out there was not working for me. Now, erroneously, I mean, really, it's not working for anybody. It wasn't just that it wasn't working for me. It just
Right.
wasn't working for anybody, really. Diets don't really work long term. They work in the short term. And so I decided that, okay, I'm going to just come up with my own thing, see if I can be more consistent and more sustainable for a lifetime. And I did it a little bit backwards. I did not have as much knowledge or information or education as I do today. But what I did do that did work out okay is I unknowingly at the time came up with high volume meals. So I ate a lot of volume throughout the day, but kept my calories low. And I did a lot of cardio. So this was 12 years ago. I did not know anything about strength training, lifting weights, protein, etc. And I was able to successfully lose about 30 pounds, but I was afraid. Again, I was very afraid that I would gain it right back. And so at that time, I reached out to a coach, and my coach taught me how much protein to eat, at what intervals, meal timing, how to lift weights in order to build muscle, how to get the shape that I was looking for, keep my body fat low, and how to actually keep things sustainable, right? Because you don't want to go on a quote unquote diet and then get off the diet. You actually want to build a lifestyle
Yeah.
that is conducive to your schedule, to your personality, to your dislikes, etc. And so that's where the magic really happened for me. And it was so transforming that I became a lifestyle medicine coach myself, teaching other women how to do that.
So you said you were on a high volume diet. What does that look like exactly?
So it really depends on your goal, right? So some people need to gain weight. Excuse me. Some people need to gain weight. Other people need to lose weight. Other
Yeah.
people need to do body recomposition. When you're in a caloric deficit and you're looking to lose weight, a lot of times at the very end of this cycle, your calories get kind of low. So let's say, for example, 1,500 calories per day is on the low end.
Yeah.
And what you're looking to do is fill up your belly with as much volume as possible without going over your caloric budget for the day. So, for example, if you have 1,500 calories per day, you divide that up by 5, you end up with roughly about 300 calories, give or take, per meal.
Hmm.
And if you space that out so that you consume a small meal every 3 hours, it keeps you from feeling very hungry, where you tend to overeat.
Yeah.
And so a 300 calorie meal can look something like that's high volume, because really you can have a tiny little chocolate bar and that is could be 300 calories,
Yeah.
right? And that's not going to keep you full
No.
for too long. And you're going to be hungry pretty quickly. So what you want to do is you want to find meals that are high volume, meaning that there's plenty of food to eat and chew that's going to keep your belly full. So for example, what does a high volume meal look like? Egg whites with a couple of yolks and a very large serving of vegetables, right? So things like tomatoes, spinach, zucchini, Brussels sprouts, whatever you like to put into the egg white omelet or scrambled eggs or whatever, with a tiny sprinkle of fat, which could be feta cheese, cheddar cheese, whatever type of cheese, or maybe a little bit of avocado on a piece of toast. So that would be a high volume meal from my perspective, because it's enough real food as opposed to synthetic food like a protein bar.
Yes.
The body recognizes as actual nutrition and starts to digest and process, and you feel full. You feel like you got the right nutrition into your body, and it has a lot of protein. That's what worked for me.
That makes plenty of sense, and it will keep you full, and you're eating real foods that are healthy, which is what we all want to do, right? That's the bottom line there. So, what about the emotional aspect of it? Because you overcame emotional eating, and you talk about different tactics that you implemented throughout your fitness journey. What does that look like?
Such a great question. So, a lot of us actually, I mean, eating is by nature somewhat emotional.
Yeah.
We eat when we're happy, when we're sad, when we're celebrating. There's all kinds of reasons to eat. It's a cultural type of experience, right? We eat as a community, etc. But there is a time, or there is a phase where we start to use food as a way to change our internal state. So, for example, more specifically, sugar, right?
Yeah.
So, there are times when some of us, that was me in this case, began to use food as a coping mechanism on top of alcohol, for example, right? Because sugar gives a very, very quick dopamine hit.
Yeah.
And so when you find yourself having a goal, let's say, for example, I want to drop X amount of body fat, right? And you're very focused on that. But every night, let's say you're really good with your food throughout the day, you're really good with your nutrition throughout the week. But then on the weekend, for whatever reason, you just binge on alcohol, sugar, all the things that are not conducive to meeting your goal. And you don't really understand, why am I doing this? What is making me sabotage myself, essentially, right? And
Yeah.
so that's when I discovered that emotional eating was a thing. It is an actual eating disorder, and it follows restriction and binge cycles, sometimes throughout the day, and sometimes, within a few days, weeks, it could be months as well. So you could spend maybe 3 months being very adherent to your diet or to your nutrition plan, to your fuel plan, and then spend another 3 months in a just caloric binge, right? And a lot of us don't realize that because nobody really talks about emotional eating as a coping mechanism. It's more socially accepted. Your family's not going to have a sit together with you and say, hey, we think you're having an eating addiction, so maybe you need to go to rehab,
Right.
right? It's not the same as alcohol or other
Right.
substances. And so it's really easy to get away with being unseen, and a lot of times it is something you have to self-identify, that this is a pattern of behavior and a loop that you're going through on a regular basis that is preventing you from feeling the healthiest version of yourself that you could be feeling.
So you struggled yourself personally with emotional eating.
Yes, and I didn't know it for many years.
Right. So
Yeah.
what got you to the point where you finally realized that you did have emotional eating disorder? I guess it's a disorder more or less, right?
I don't, I will not call it a disorder.
Okay.
It's a pattern and a habit.
Okay.
Pattern of behavior that the brain has learned is the fastest way to cope with uncomfortable states of being,
Okay.
right? So it could be negative feelings, it could be positive feelings, right? It could be any type of self-talk or feeling of overwhelm or stress, right? A lot of people use alcohol in the same way. So at the end of the day, you're feeling stressed, overwhelmed, you just want something, right, to take the edge off, right? And a lot of times it's wine, it's other types of alcohol. Sometimes it's sugar, chocolate, ice cream, it could be
Yeah.
anything. And so I was told, I was point blank told, you have an eating disorder. That's
Now,
how I,
wow. So could emotional eating also go the other way where you're not eating and you're pretty much starving yourself? Is that considered emotional eating as well? And
that was my understanding of what an eating disorder
yeah.
is. All right. So to me, when I would reflect on myself, I did not think I had an eating disorder because all I knew was anorexia or bulimia, right? Those are on two sides of the eating disorder spectrum, where one is extreme restriction, anorexia, where you're not eating at all or very little. And
Right.
the other one is where you go through binge cycles and bulimic cycles, right? And so emotional eating, I didn't think that that was even considered an eating disorder because I didn't do any of those things. I didn't have anorexic cycles and I didn't have bulimic cycles. It was more of an emotional cycle of behavior where I knew that I met my goals. If I could just, I would meet my goals of weight loss or body fat reduction if I could keep myself from eating an entire jar of Nutella every day.
Hmm. Was there something else going on in your life that could have been a trigger to the emotional eating?
All kinds of things.
Okay. Like being
Usually,
unhappy or just not fulfilled in some way, and you turn to food to comfort you, right?
well, that's how it all begins,
Yeah.
right? There's a state of being that you feel a certain way, and then you reach for an ice cream and oh, you feel a little bit better in that moment, right? And so the
Yeah.
brain makes an association that, oh, every time we have this uncomfortable feeling, if we just reach for the ice cream or whatever it is, right? Fill in the blank.
Yeah.
We're we're gonna instantly feel better physically. And it
Mm.
makes this association. So anytime that uncomfortable feelings comes up, it's already thinking like, oh, hey, when can I get that ice cream? Because it just makes me feel better in the moment. But then, the next day you're like, well, why did I do that? I
Yeah.
just got myself back from my goal. And so I realized I started becoming more aware of this pattern is because I had a goal that I had to lose a certain amount of body fat from my health. It wasn't even for vanity purposes. I had to drop the body fat.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, oh, it'd be nice to drop 10 pounds. No, I had to drop 80 pounds of body fat. So it became critical that I get to the bottom of why I was doing this. And it's so baffling because, you know, like it's so mind blowing that we can sabotage our own health in such a way where logically we know, hey, you're pre-diabetic, you're on the way to being diabetic, you have insulin resistance, you got hospitalized 3 times because you were having a heart attack. You can barely walk up the stairs. You're
Wow.
dizzy every afternoon. All kinds of crazy things are happening to you. You really need to unload this body fat that you're carrying around that's dysregulating all your systems. For whatever reason, you can't keep your SHIT together and you're diving into the ice cream, right? So now when I started noticing that pattern, I was like, wow, that's really interesting, right? It's like an unconscious pattern of behavior
Yeah.
that keeps repeating over and over again that is keeping me from being healthy.
So how do you overcome that?
It's so I tell everybody this that asks me this question, it's not a light switch.
Right. I'm sure it's not.
Right. So a lot of people think like, oh, it takes, and you read this in a lot of self-help books. It takes 30 days to change a habit. It took me way longer than 30 days.
Yeah.
It took me years. It took me a lot of trial and error. It took me a lot of work to stay aware and to stay awake and to consistently monitor my internal dialogue. It took a lot of time to actually have an open dialogue with all the thoughts that were working behind the scenes to
Yeah.
sabotage me. It took a lot of work in finding alternative behaviors that I could use to replace this particular behavior that my brain had learned to act upon automatically.
Hmm.
I had to find a lot of substitutions for some of the foods that I was reaching for because I knew I was going to fail because I proved that over and over again.
Yeah.
So, I expected it every time I would reset, let's say, I expected that I would fall down. And I planned for that. I planned for the moment when I wasn't going to be able to overcome the binge essentially. And I planned for it. So I had protein ice cream in the freezer. I would order cauliflower pizza from a meal prep company. I would have protein brownies on hand and I knew that if I had that available in my environment, I would most likely reach for that because it would keep me going in my goal. Whereas if I didn't have those prepped, I was more likely to go to the store and grab a Haagen-Dazs, for
Yeah.
example.
So that started your journey in the right direction. So, someone here who's listening, 5 ways to begin your health journey. What do you suggest?
Oh my gosh, such a great question, right? So the first thing that I tell clients, especially in our 40s, is the first thing that I'd like to kind of get a good hold of is sleep.
Yeah.
Because when we don't sleep or our sleep is very disrupted, everything else goes down the drains.
Yeah.
Right? We don't have as much energy. We are not in a great mood. We're might have a headache, etc. Right. So that, first step is try to get between 7 to 9 hours of sleep or as much sleep as possible. Right. And then just pay attention to what keeps you up. Do you have caffeinated drinks later on in the day, or what can we do to get better sleep? So that's number one. Number two, another one is hydration. So right off the bat, how much water or liquid are you drinking? And does your diet have enough sodium, potassium, magnesium, sodium chloride, right? So that's another one where a lot of times we're hungry or we think we're hungry because we are actually dehydrated.
Yeah.
That's number two. And then start to think about movement. It doesn't have to be anything extreme, right? We don't have to run a triathlon on day one, right? We can get 8 to 10,000 steps a day, maybe 10 to 15 minutes of a little bit of cardio, get the heart rate up. And then once you get that habit down, start adding strength training, weightlifting, etc. And then nutrition, right? Are you eating enough protein? Especially in midlife, women actually need more protein
Yeah.
than the recommended dose that's published out there. And are you eating enough protein throughout the day? You can break it up into 3, 4 meals, 5 meals, if that helps. Are you getting enough whole foods, enough vegetables that are going to help you feel full rather than synthetic food? And those are five, right? I gave five.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. The other thing I wanted to ask you is during menopause, why is it so important to be building muscle?
Well, it's actually, no, it doesn't matter what age, because I think starting at 30 years old, we start to lose bone density.
Right.
And so if we're not counteracting that by lifting weights and staying active, it just keeps declining, right? And so sarcopenia starts coming in, muscle loss, bone density loss, etc. And in perimenopause and menopause, it just keeps accelerating, right? So we don't move as much, our hormones are changing, they're fluctuating, they're declining. Estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, they're all declining.
Mhm.
And so it just gets progressively less and less, right? So if we're not doing anything to counteract muscle decline and bone density decline, it's just going to take its natural course of action, which is to continue to decline.
Right. Okay. I also wanted to talk to you about thyroid support because I actually have Hashimoto's disease. And so, as far as nutrition goes, how could we support our thyroid?
So vegetables, right? So things like cauliflower, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, sweet potatoes, green beans, all zucchini, right? They're all support all of our hormones essentially. And
Hmm.
so getting the right nutrition, I am not an expert on Hashimoto's, but
Right.
overall, as far as thyroid support,
Yeah.
you can't go wrong with eating enough protein, getting enough vegetables. There's a lot of research being done out there now for different supplements that I don't necessarily recommend. It's not my expertise, but there's a lot of research being done. And I do have a few clients that have gotten off of their thyroid
Oh,
medication and started reversing some of the symptoms that they're experiencing. And the only thing that I'm aware of that they're doing is eating the way that I just described, lifting weights, so maintaining or increasing muscle mass, lifting weights, eating properly, sleeping well, and hydrating.
Yeah.
So for a lifestyle medicine coach, that would be my recommendation.
Yeah.
But of course, you need to work with your physician for full support.
Right, right. I also notice just in people that I talk to, a lot of women, as they're in perimenopause, they seem to develop a thyroid condition. I don't know if it's a coincidence or there's some kind of a connection. I also think that when you're in perimenopause, you're under a lot of stress, and that possibly could be one of the triggers. I think it was for me at that time. I was also going through a divorce when I was in perimenopause, so there was a lot going on. Yeah, and it was a struggle. It was, now I have it under control. I take really good care of myself and I've lost a lot of weight, so I have it under control. But in talking with a lot of people, I noticed that there is that correlation to it. So,
It's so interesting, right? So a lot of the people that I speak to, and this is not from a medical perspective, but what I do hear a lot of times is it starts with a metabolic root cause, right? So insulin resistance, then it goes into pre-diabetes, then if you don't necessarily take care of it, some people are predisposed to it hitting the thyroid.
yeah, yeah, it's very interesting. So, how did you go from just taking care of yourself and getting yourself into great shape and reclaiming your health to starting your business and everything else that you're doing right now? Because you have so many things going on. You have a podcast, you have coaching programs. So, tell us a little bit about some of your programs and how you took it from just you personally healing yourself and then expanding out to help other people.
I became obsessed with what the body could do just from natural lifestyle changes. It truly blew me away. And I wish somebody had sat me down when I was struggling and told me that, hey, these things that are happening to you, they don't have to continue to escalate. You don't have to blame it on age, because I'm going to be 50 next year, and don't I mean, when I think about how I used to think about 50 when I was 37, that's not how it is for me
No,
now, but I changed my lifestyle. And so I wish that somebody would have told me that back then. And I wish somebody that had somebody to guide me. And so I became very, very, very interested and just inspired by how it affected me. I started getting certified as a personal trainer, nutritionist, emotional eating. And now I'm a lifestyle medicine coach because I was so interested in it, not just for myself, but also to help some of the ladies that asked me to help them. And in the very beginning, I didn't have this, 12 years ago, I didn't have any certification. So I would be like, well, I can help you, but like as a friend, you still have to check with your physician on some of these things. I can't take responsibility for it. But now that I have certifications and all these things, I can actually help people a lot better. And so I transitioned into that, right? So the personal transformation led to a professional transformation.
yes. What were you doing before you became a coach?
I had a marketing agency, so
Okay.
very different, but very
Yes.
similar as well.
Yes. So tell us about some of the programs that you have, and also you have a podcast.
Yes. So I do one-on-one coaching. I don't necessarily have any particular program. It's very personalized based on each person's individual needs.
Mhm.
And that is open year round. If anybody's interested, you could reach out. I also do retreats, so women's retreats for wellness, yoga, Pilates, nutrition, and hiking out in Tennessee. There are a couple of spots possibly for the rest of this year, but they've been mostly sold out this year, but they are open for 2026. And then I am into season 2 of the How Good Can It Get podcast. You can also find me on Instagram, How Good Can It Get? Because it could get good. Great. And yeah, those are all the places you can find me.
That's great. That is great. Do you have any final thoughts you'd like to leave my audience with today?
Ladies, you don't have to feel like you're tired all the time, like things are out of your control. You can have agency over your own health. And there's lots of really great people out there that can help you. And there's small changes you can make little by little every day that can help you feel better. You don't have to suffer in here all by yourself.
Yeah, that's the thing. A lot of women just think this is the way it is and this is the way it has to stay, and it doesn't need to be that way. I know for myself personally, I went through the transformation as well when I was younger, and I feel great and I'm fairly healthy. So, and it's something you have to work at every day, right? You have to think about everything you're putting in your mouth. Is this going to help me or is it going to age me? And it's really simple as far as stay away from processed foods is first and foremost, really. And,
Exactly.
and moving your body and staying active. Terry, thank you so much for being here. This was a great conversation. I love everything that you're doing. I listened to a couple of the episodes of your podcast. Great information there. So I will put all of your links in the show notes so people will know where to find you. And I'd love to have you come on again sometime.
Thank you, Susan. It was such a pleasure. I'm so
Thank
grateful to be here, and I wish you all the best. You're doing good work. Keep
thank
it up.
you. So are you. So are you. Very nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Thank you all for joining me here today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you could think of anyone who would benefit from listening to this episode, I would love it if you could share it out with them. If you're not currently subscribed, please make sure to follow me here. Again, thank you so much. I appreciate you all. And until the next time, be well, stay happy, and bye for now. Take good care, everyone.